Can you dig any deeper now? I gave you all I own, put you on this golden throne, but I'm a little stronger now. You cashed in on my promises, you know I'm too generous. Now I've learned to never help you out, 'cause I'm done cleaning up your mess. Found myself in my regrets. I've become a little stronger now, a little stronger now. You cashed in on my promises, you know I'm too generous. Now I've learned to never help you out, 'cause I'm done cleaning up your mess. Found myself in my regrets. I've become a little stronger now, a little stronger now, a little stronger now, a little stronger now, a little stronger now. You cashed in on my promises, you know I'm too generous. Now I've learned to never help you out, 'cause I'm done cleaning up your mess. Found myself in my regrets. I've become a little stronger now, a little stronger now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Late Night with BMR. Usually, I've got Brandy and Krista joining me, along with Monica. Tonight, we just have Monica, which is awesome. I guess Krista's at a wedding. Brandy's doing something with her kids. She might pop in a little later. Just depends what time she gets home. But we have enough, myself and Monica, to do a cool show for you tonight. I want to thank each and every single one of you for coming on in. If you're new here, please subscribe to Bigfoot Mission Rob on YouTube, the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal Podcast on YouTube, Texas Front Porch found on YouTube, Monica Rollins, Our Paranormal World. I do not give out the show times anymore because you guys just forget. That's why I say turn on the alert bell. Turn on the alert bell. That way you won't catch a single show. I'm on Tuesday nights at 9, Thursday afternoons at 1, midnight Saturday. Monica's on Thursday nights, I believe at 11 in the East. The girls, the Blondes and the Booze, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So they're pretty easy. 8, 9, and 8, respectively, Eastern Standard Daylight Time. So check us out. Subscribe. Again, if you're new, turn on the alert bell. Like, share us out. Thank you so much for coming in. Appreciate all of you. The Super Chat's open. Great way to support what we do around here. So thank you so much for that in advance. Also, you can become a BMR Pirate. Join today. Join the many. Join the few. Guess it depends on your point of view, right? You get a picture of me with my bandana next to yourself in the chat room. Also, though, I'll be doing some members-only shows coming up sometime in the fall. I've yet to figure that out. I'm already on 4 days a week. Well, 3 days in a video. So, got to kind of figure out how to get that into the schedule. Also, for everybody, I do want to thank everybody for buying my books. As you know, they're out. Been out for a while. I got them both up here. Bigfoot Mission presents True Cryptid Encounters Book 2. It's out a little over a month. Thank you for those who've bought that one. I got to thank everybody also for buying Book 1 over on the right. Book 2's on the left. Book 1's on the right. Artwork by Jason McLean. Thank you for buying that as well. That's been out for about a year and a month. And for those who bought the books, again, I appreciate it. Do me a favor, though. Leave a review with Amazon because it's all analytics. Much like on YouTube, leaving a comment, giving a thumbs up helps promote the shows. Well, with Amazon on books, yeah, write a review. It helps spur the sales. Just type Bigfoot Mission Rob on your Amazon browser, leave a review, subscribe to the channels. We're also on Spreaker. Actually, we're wherever podcasts are found, you can find us, whether that be Spreaker, what's the other ones out there? I don't know. There's so many. Apple, Google Play. What's the other big one? There's another big one out there. I forget. We're on about 20 of them. So go check that out. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bring out the lovely Monica. Hi, Monica.
Hi.
Good to see you, girl.
Good to see you too.
You're busy. You're a busy girl.
I am tonight, that's for sure.
Yeah, I noticed that you're on Donnie's show a little earlier. I don't know how many shows you've been on today, but I know that you're usually on with Breezy. I think you start going, I think your quote unquote work schedule for podcasting starts what? Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
Yeah, Thursday, Friday, Saturday for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and today just happened to be extra long because I started at 7 Central with Paul.
Oh, you're on with Paul as well?
Yeah. Because he didn't have anybody to co-host with him tonight. And his guest had a Bigfoot encounter up in the Gifford Penn Show, which is where I used to do, a fair amount of poking around. So I was very interested in that. And then went straight into Cho's where you should call it Donnie Cho's world. Because
the guy lives in a different world.
He does.
I love Donnie. I met Donnie. I've known Donnie for a couple of years. I met him in person in Alabama finally. He's such a cool guy to hang out with and a smart guy. But Donnie Cho's world. I'm not going to get into what Donnie did on his show today, but you got to go subscribe to Donnie. If you just want a little hilarity and hijinks, it goes well beyond that.
It's tongue in cheek for sure. Like
it is, but it's just kick back and have a good time with Donnie. That's what that is.
I told him that
right.
I was reading somebody's message in chat. I had told him I thought we were broadcasting on Rumble. I don't know what made me think that because I logged into what is it here, StreamYard. Yeah. But in my mind we were on Rumble, probably because of all the cussing.
Donnie traditionally, I think I caught it where Donnie always, if you're a new guest, like you were like, I guess the guest or co-host, whatever you want to call yourself today, you always have to drop the F-bomb to crack the seal, whatever.
I have no problem with that. That's not an issue for me.
Yeah. I think that most of us drop the F-bomb. I try not to do it on YouTube because I monetize, you'll probably, and they're kind of fickle with that. And, when you have the F-bomb, hey, listen, I don't have a problem with the word. I've grown up with the word. We all have. It should be in the dictionary. I don't find
seasoning.
Yeah, I don't find it really offensive anymore. I mean, I never did really. It's just it's got a stigmatism to it, I guess, but it's part of our vocabulary.
It doesn't mean words. Yeah.
It's not that. There's people who say, "Well, if you use F-bombs, you're uneducated. You can't use other words."
That's not.
Well, you blow it out your ass.
Not true.
Well, yeah, it's part of our vocab. I refrain though on the shows. I drop it once in a while, it'll slip out. But hey, you know what? Life goes on.
I try really hard not to cut. I mean,
I try not to.
I try not to, but I mean, it's so ingrained in me.
Yeah, well, you have to remember too. I worked the first 20 years of my life. I worked in a factory setting.
Yeah, I work in construction.
And construction factories, every mother effer drops the F-bomb.
Yeah, it's hilarious when I'm on job sites and guys try to clean their act up because I'm a girl on a job site. I'm like, dude, you clearly don't know me.
No, they don't, and not to mention some women drop the F-bomb more than some guys do. I've come to find out throughout it.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I thought we were on Rumble because We were talking about dispatching the Bigfoot species, and I was
Yes.
giving examples on how we could do that. And I I used an example that my friend uses when she's getting rid of hogs on her farm.
Okay.
And yeah, it involves tannerite and a weapon. And I was like, dude, I didn't know we were on YouTube. I just like said some serious like I might be on the FBI's watch list now.
Oh God, yeah. Well, I think the FBI is on Rumble because anything goes on. You can say whatever you want on Rumble. They're yet to sanction it, right?
I have no idea. I've never been on Rumble.
Me either. That's just what I hear.
I mean, yeah, I hear that's where you go if you just like
you just want
to let loose, let's say.
You want to let loose and you want to talk crazy politics, woke, you want to talk intense stuff and not get censored, that's where you go.
Right.
You know. And Donnie, though, they're talking about, how to kill Bigfoot. I don't even know if you can use kill on YouTube. A lot of people use that word unalive now. I mean,
well, he doesn't care about being monetized, but I was like, dude, I didn't know we were on YouTube. Like, I promise you, the stuff I was saying, this is probably going to get flagged or yanked or something.
And then you have those people out there that I'm sure you'll get some comments about killing Bigfoot. People just are not into that. That turns a lot of people off, and people get pretty pissed off about that.
They do. There's some people that are very passionate against it. And I mean, that's cool. I don't, everybody's got their own opinion on it. I'm not saying that I want to be pulling the trigger on that, because if you miss or you just wound it, you're going to be in a few pieces when they discover you, in my opinion. But I also think that there is no photographic evidence, there is no video evidence, there is no physical evidence you're going to be able to provide that is going to convince anybody. So if you want to put it to rest, like really tuck that puppy in and put it to bed, you're going to have to cough up some sort of physical example, specimen of some kind. But I'm not saying I want to be the one to do that. I'm just saying I think that's what it's going to require.
Yeah, and I'm anti-killing Bigfoot. I mean, I've hunted in my life. I enjoy it for the sport of it. And when I go, my brother's been hunting for 25 years, and he kills what he kills, deer, and he eats it, right? And and that's fine. But
that's to live. I get that.
And it's the sport. He likes deer meat. He puts deer meat. His wife makes chili and steak with it, and I must admit, when I first started eating deer, because I don't eat it except for when I go to my brother's during hunting season, it's got a different taste to it, but it's an acquired taste a little bit for me. It's an acquired taste. I prefer a regular hamburger meat in my chili versus because I did that deer meat in a chili.
You can still taste the gamey. You can still taste the game in it.
Listen, it's always to be a little gamey.
Always. I've tried it smoked. I've tried it. I mean, I don't care. Everybody tells me, oh, you've just never had it made right. I've had it made every way that God intended for it to be cooked under the sun. And I can still taste the gaminess, and I don't like it. I just don't like it. I don't like wild turkey either, because it's that gamey taste. I just, ugh.
Yeah, I don't like wild turkey either. And I tell you, I do like fish, but some of this really wild fish, that's kind of fishy.
Oh, well, the heavy oil fish I don't usually care for.
I mean,
the best salmon I had, and I usually don't like salmon because it's very oily fish. It's that heavy fish taste typically. But I had salmon actually when I was up in Washington camping. My friend John had caught it, and he brought it up to camp and cooked it with some morel, whatever, the wild mushrooms that you forage for. And I actually liked it. It was good. That's the only time I've ever had salmon that I wasn't like, eh.
Josh. Bigfoot meat is too full of gout causing purines. Therefore, I cannot partake. But thanks, guys. Yeah. Thanks, Josh. Thanks for coming in. Thanks to everybody for coming in. Appreciate you guys. And Mr. Michigan, they won by the skin of their teeth. My Tigers came back to win. They're a game out of the playoff chase. So I got to look forward now to Kyler Murray going on 3rd down and 21, running for 25 against my Lions. I'm scared about that game tomorrow. You know, and I got my fantasy team, and we're talking backstage. All the good players are already injured.
Yeah, I'm lucky that none of my players, I guess none of mine are good then. But none of my players are injured yet, which is rare because usually by the 3rd week, I've got at least 2 guys down.
Yeah, I'm kind of lucky. I didn't draft any. I didn't have like Christian McCaffrey, people like that. I'm still my team's intact with some minor injuries, so I think I'm going to win this weekend.
Sweet.
I got to. So yeah, we'll see how that.
What's your record right now?
I'm just 1-1.
Okay,
yeah.
That's what I am.
Yeah,
but I think I'm going to win this week, so I can be.
I had Joe Burrow as my quarterback, and he's off to a crappy start. But tomorrow he's just going to tear it up against Washington.
There you go.
You know, so I also have T. Higgins, by the way, who's injured. I don't know if he's playing. I also got Kittle, who's injured too. Boy, I do have some injured players. But anyway, people don't want to hear us talk fantasy football, NFL. But hey, that's what I do. You know, Saturday night, we screw around a little bit. We get serious, talk about some serious stuff, and we will. In fact, tonight's show is about Mexican monsters and folklore. We're also going to get into the Fae. It seems like we should be doing this show on Cinco de Mayo. And before we get into that, you know, we did that show about your disdain for pizza a couple months ago. And again, I'm done talking about that. But since we're talking to Mexican folklore, and I know everybody that listens to this likes a little food talk, what's your favorite Mexican dish before we get started?
Caldo de pollo. I was going to make that tonight. It's basically chicken soup.
It just sounds better than plain old chicken soup.
Well, it tastes better than plain old chicken soup.
Oh, good.
I've got the chiles and everything. It's really good. You make the chile sauce that you strain into the soup, and it's full of vegetables. And you can make it with fideo, which is like a little pasta. You brown the pasta and then you throw it in the soup so it doesn't get too mushy. It's very good. I will cook it for you sometime if you ever spend any amount of time around me.
Yeah, well, yeah, I look forward to that. In fact, I might be seeing you. Well, it depends on the playoff schedule for your big birthday party in New Orleans.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I'll have a house, so I can cook. But I mean, who wants to eat my cooking if we're in New Orleans? We need to be eating.
I've never been in New Orleans, so I'm gonna eat me some crawdad and what's that thing, that breakfast food you said?
A beignet. Ooh,
yeah. I'm not waiting in line in 5 hours.
No, we're not waiting in line because I know where to go in the city that you don't have to wait in line.
Good. I like all Mexican food. In fact, being that I just live outside of the city of Detroit by about 20 minutes, Southwest Detroit, okay? It's called Mexican Town, Mexican Village, and 90% of the population, they all speak Spanish.
Okay.
Or, Mexican, I guess, but Spanish is the appropriate, verbiage.
There's dialect.
Hey, I speak, there's all dialects. Fortunately, I did good in I done good in high school, and I took Spanish, and I took 1 and 2. I mastered that. I got A's, not to brag, in Spanish, right? But I flunked French. But who wants to know French anyway? So boring. French.
I took German. I speak German. I don't speak Spanish. Well, my mom speaks Spanish. I understand it. I just can't answer back.
I can read it. I can understand it, especially alluding back to I go to Southwest Detroit for my Mexican food. And you would feel out of place, you guys, if you don't understand, Spanish, because that's all they talk. And it's a very dangerous part of town as well, it is. I'm not going to lie to you. So I go down there. They have the most fantastic Mexican food down there. I love just their flautas.
Oh, yeah.
And then they got the deep fried, the name slips, in the corn husks.
Tamales?
Yes, they make great tamales. Those are very good. So I go down there when I can, usually with a couple guys, because it's kind of a rough part of town, and we eat it right in the restaurant, and we take off. We're not wimps, but
we're
it's kind of
rolling into tamale season. Tamale.
yeah, and so yeah, I got to do that. I haven't done that I didn't do anything this summer, but yeah, I love that. That's what I like. That's one of my top choices.
It's easy for me to make. I mean, that's what I shove in my family's face like most of the time.
Yeah, it's not like, which I haven't gone to in like 3 years, like Taco Bell. It doesn't matter what you order at Taco Bell. It's all the same. It's all meat, and
that's not Mexican food.
It's not Mexican. All it is meat and what do you call it? Beans, a bean paste and a meat paste, really. Slap it in a burrito, slap it in a taco. That's about all it is.
Yeah.
Add some hot sauce. Good to go.
That's like watered down Tex-Mex is what it is.
Not a big fan of Tex-Mex, but there's no good ones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Is that Chipotle? Is that supposed to be Tex-Mex? I don't even know. I don't go with Chipotle. Never been there either. I heard that's supposed to be healthy type food.
I like Chipotle, but when I go there, I don't put all the crap on it. I mean, it's like I get the most basic thing, and it is basic. So I get white rice because I don't like their brown rice. So I get the white rice, and I get steak, and I get corn salsa, and that is it. It's very basic.
Basic, but sometimes basic is the best. And for me, though, my all-time favorite, then we'll get started with the show. Hi, Mark Basil. Good to see you again. Thanks, everybody, for coming in, by the way. If I haven't said hi to you, chat's kind of moving a little bit. So hello to everybody. Thanks for coming in. I'm still a steak man. I like my ribeye, but along with crab legs on the side. That's my ultimate feast. If that was going to be my last meal, if I was convicted of some heinous crime on death row, that would be my last meal. That would be
okay. Steak. That's pretty good.
Steak and crab legs, both.
Oh, hell yeah. Do you want snow crab, king crab, or Dungeness crab?
I like the king crab, although I like the Dungeness over the snow.
See, Dungeness is super sweet. Snow crab is super sweet. I love king crab, but it just doesn't have the flavor that the other two have. The problem with Dungeness is like there's hardly any meat.
Yeah, you got to eat a million. When I go, I spend a ton of money because I can't get that a pound and a quarter. It's like 5 pounds. Give me 5 pounds.
Yeah, I'd like my weight of snow crab.
Yeah, I do love snow crab. I like it. I'll go to this place that went out of business thanks to our economy. I used to get all my crab legs there. We used to get a big vat, about 5 guys. We'd pitch and we would go all out. We would literally put in like $50, $75 a piece. Get a big vat outdoors, put it over a fire, just like that old commercial with Milwaukee beer. And we'd even buy the old Milwaukee beer, and we would just throw the crab legs right in that big vat, boil them, and sit around, have a good time, and have the big gallon bucket of the melted garlic butter.
Yeah, you got to have the butter. I don't know how people eat it.
I don't know how you do it. It's the only way I can eat lobster tails.
I have to have. Oh yeah, you have to have a lobster.
The lobster tails kind of
clarified butter with lemon. I'll take a wedge of lemon, squeeze it in there, and then plop that puppy right in the butter and let it marinate.
Absolutely. So everybody, thanks for coming in. We always like to, shoot the shit in the beginning of the show. So I titled this Mexican Monsters in Folklore, talk a little about the Fae with Monica. I noticed a lot of people earlier don't know a lot about the Fae. We can go that route to start with you if you like, Monica. And then I got some cool Mexican monster pictures I'm going to pull up, and we can talk about those too. Then
I got I know of, which is like
we'll talk about the ones you know of, and I got a cool gnome story.
Ooh, awesome!
For the end of the show,
because
gnomes are also a part of the Fae.
They sure are. They are. Yeah, I was going to do one of my shorts on the Tomte, which are Ornisse, which are the Scandinavian gnomes, right? The Swedish, really Swedish calls them Tomte, but yeah, Scandinavian.
Mm-hmm.
Little dudes with pointy hats.
Little dudes with pointy hats, and again, I have a story about that, but I'll do that later. So for people that maybe don't know what the Fae is, pretend like you're talking to a bunch of third graders here. What's your definition of the Fae?
So they're just being. That's a tough one because I know about. I haven't really pondered what they are.
Right.
They're beings, I think, that are they're in another dimension, right? And they can pop in and out. That's why they seem magical. And because if you know me, I believe in layered dimensions.
Yes.
And they just have the ability to come in and out of ours, right? The Fae realm is completely different than our world.
I guess a better question would be the Fae is not just like a gnome and that's it. They come in all shapes, sizes.
Oh, goodness.
They take on different, almost like a shapeshifter, maybe it would, because they can come in they can take on the personality of anything or the look of anything.
No, I think some of them can, but no, by and large, they are what they are, right? So mermaids, those are Fae.
Okay.
Banshee, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's Fae. She might, come in like with red hair or blonde hair, or, she might look young or old, but she's always going to be a woman that's weaving. Like that's a static form. All right. And then you get like a gnome, like a real gnome is always going to look like a gnome. They're not going to shift into something else.
Right.
And that's not to say that, there aren't shape shift. Good Lord, it's been a long night. Shape shifting Fae. They're just not coming to my mind right now which ones those would be.
Well, are they dangerous? Or do they roam with Bigfoot? Do they will they help you if you're lost in the forest?
It depends because Fae they have personalities just like people do. So you're going to get jerks, you're going to get helpful, but I would say that it is a trait that runs constant throughout all of them, whether they're good or evil. They or neutral. They're tricksters. They're tricky. They're looking, they're masters of loopholes. Never try to make a deal with one. That's why I don't put a welcome mat on my front door. No.
Right.
And really you're not supposed to say thank you to strangers because you don't know who is a Fae and who isn't. And if you say thank you to a Fae, whether or not they did anything for you, they're going to think, well, you told me thank you, so I must have done something that helped you. So now you owe me. Okay. What are you going to do for me? Like, I want you to do this for me. So you've got to be careful. They're tricky.
What about the Jinn? Would that be considered part of the Fae? I think that's more of an evil entity, isn't it?
Well, I don't really consider the Jinn. I kind of do and I don't. I haven't really delved deep into the Jinn. I know that they're ancient spirits. They're ancient spirits. Like there was darkness, there were Jinn before the world was formed. But just like people, you can have good ones that help. You can have bad ones. They have personalities like humans.
And that wouldn't be considered like you always think. When I think the Jinn, I always think about like the genie in Aladdin's bottle.
A lot of people do. But
that's probably not what we're talking about. That's something different.
Well, I mean, it's a Jinn in a bottle, but no, they don't live in oil lamps. That's not their residence. They live in realms, and there's different types, Oh gosh, I'm trying to think because I don't do a ton on the Jinn. Josh knows a lot about those. He's talked about them before on the show.
Yes, he's pretty knowledgeable when it comes to the Jinn and all that. And when he gets up and running, I like to talk to him about that. What I'm going to pull up here. I'm going to show this since it is kind of Mexican Monster Night. I looked some stuff up really briefly. Oh, not that. Okay, so let me take this down really quick. So I got the Mexican monsters. So I read up on some of these, El Duende on the left. I think that's part of the Fae, or it looks like a gnome,
Yeah, it's a little person.
a little person. Then the El Cuco. I think
Cool.
that's how you say it. Then the Way Shivo. Looks
Mm-hmm.
like a goat man to me. Kind of a
Yeah,
crazy.
looks like a water buffalo.
The La Llorona.
La Llorona.
La Llorona and the Labyrinth. Now, the Labyrinth to me, everybody, that's kind of, I believe that to be the Chupacabra.
Sure looks like it.
Kind of looks like one, of all the Mexican folklore myths, cryptids, it's kind of my least favorite because, they do that to death.
Yeah. And I just can't stand the dogs, like the dogs that everybody is saying are chupacabras. A chupacabra, I mean, a real chupacabra is this lizard-like thing with spikes down its back and these fangs and tongue, and it's sucking the blood out of goats. It's a goat vampire.
The goat vampire, yeah. In fact, what it was saying here, well, anyway, yeah, that's that, and I don't see the connection to the dog, like the emaciated dog, right?
Right, a mangy dog, yeah, that's a hairless dog. I don't, but some people do. I'm just not one of them. But I had to look it up because I haven't heard the cuckoo before, but it's the kukui. I know what the kukui is because we are barreling into kukui season. It's the boogeyman. Ooh. At least that's what I was taught. The kukui is like the boogeyman. There's always a kukui room in your house. There's a house that's got there's a room that's got weird energy, and it's the kukui room. Like nobody wants to go in there.
Now that's supposed to be spiritual, or that's a physical entity, or
that's like the boogeyman. Like, what would you consider the boogeyman?
Yeah, well, I never really thought about the boogeyman. I mean, I think the Grim Reaper.
You think the boogeyman's a Grim Reaper?
That pops in my head. I never really sat down and said, "Wow, what is the boogeyman?" Michael Myers was always brought up to me as a kid as the boogeyman. He's you can't kill him.
He's
can't kill him.
Coming to kill you or do you harm at least. He's malicious.
Very malicious. And so yeah, I never really. It's a good question. When I think right now, tonight, 12:30, boogeyman, I can't place an image in my head. The only thing I can think of is something that steals the souls of children.
See,
that's my interpretation.
Okay, so I always saw the boogeyman as an entity, right? Like a spirit, like an evil entity that can materialize. And it's not, I mean, it haunts children because children are easy targets, but it can come after adults too.
I'd imagine so. And you bring up something pretty cool here about when it talks to children, which I like to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Which one is it? The La Llorona. La Llorona. It says here, everybody, it's to be avoided at all costs. It said that those who hear La Llorona's cries are destined for misfortune or even death. A desperate and malevolent spirit, she is said to act unflinchingly and without mercy, often drowning the children she has found or kidnapped when she realizes they are not her sons. Some traditions hold that she will begin to seduce a lone man and then murder him as a form of revenge for her husband's abuse or adultery, while others assert that she kills men, women, and children indiscriminately. Eerily, her wails are often said to sound more distant or closer than her victims. So we're talking about something here that, okay, it's kind of it's depending on your point of view, right? Stealing children, abducting, killing children or men, because it sounds like a witch that just has it out for men.
Well, she's a spirit. So La Llorona is a woman that drowned her children. And she's crying. She's usually, I mean, this is what I was taught. I don't know about anybody else, but this is what I was told when I was a kid. That she's usually near water. Obviously, she drowned her kids, so like rivers early, and she's walking like in the river bottoms or along the rivers, crying, looking for her children that she offed, and she'll take your kids. She'll take your kids, or if you are, I mean, she'll take you just fine, to replace them, right? She's trying to find them. She thinks that you are her child. She thinks your children are her children, and she reenacts her taking of her own kids' lives.
Wow, that's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Now that's, I mean, and that comes from where? That's from Mexican folklore, is that?
That's Mexican folklore. Like, oh gosh, I'm gonna blank out now. The owl woman. Lechuza. Lechuza. The owl. That's a witch, right? Okay. Part owl, part woman. I've got a story. My grandfather he claimed that he was followed home, kind of chased by a lechuza when he was walking home one night from, I don't know, a dance in town. He was walking down a dirt road, and he said that it was a blue light at first that followed him, and it would go up in the trees, and then it formed into lechuza, and she was, following him home. She perched outside his house, and I'm trying to remember what my mom said they did to get rid of it, because he got real sick. And that's what she does. She hangs out, and she brings death. She's trying to take you. She's trying to take you over into the spirit world. I'm trying to keep you monetized. I'm trying to say a lot of words.
Well, you can, it's after. Well, I mean, I got you, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. I mean, there's only so much. Listen, there's only so much. There's a lot of things that you get, suppressed for on this, but I guess you just roll with the flow and we'll find out, right? But what's the difference between the El Duende? Now, the El Duende is a gnome from Mexican descent, correct? And is that supposed to be evil? Or what's the difference between like the El Duende, or you mentioned earlier in the show, it's a little person, or is it more of a gnome type character?
I think they're all the same brand of fae, like the little short dudes. Like they're all gnomes, in my opinion. They're just from different parts of the world. They have different names, right? In Sweden, it's tomte. In Native American folklore, it's the little people, or sometimes, depending on where you are, I think a lot of people have heard of puckwudgies, thanks to Monsters and Mysteries in America. And then there's the duende, and they're all just like, they're gnomes, in my opinion. They're just like what I saw walking in the woods at one time, or walking along the side of the road on the wood line, I shouldn't say in the woods.
Really? So for people that haven't heard that, what were you experiencing?
So I was leading a weekend research team in East Texas, and we were driving back to camp, and I was in the back seat of my friend's truck, and she was in the front. She was driving, obviously, and there was somebody else in the front seat, and they were having a conversation. It was pretty late at night, and where we were camped was in a campground, but the area that I reserved was kind of an offshoot of the main campground, and it was isolated. So we were on our way back there, and I remember seeing movement catch my eye, because I'm just, I'm like this, looking out the window as we're driving back into camp. And I look over, and there's this little dude, like 2.5 feet tall, I'm guessing, totally guessing. He wasn't very big. And he was walking along the tree line. So there was the road, and then some grass that had been cut down, maybe, I don't know, again, guessing like 10 feet to the tree line. And, he was walking like on the far edge, like closer to the tree line. And he didn't look over at me, which is good because I would have really freaked out if he'd looked over. But he was just marching along in the direction we were going. He was walking towards our camp. And I remember that freaked me out. And he was not a particularly nice looking individual. And I remember his clothes were like these muted colors. He had red. I remember red. He had a cap on. He had like green and brown clothes, and they had been worn. They were dirty, not like dirt smeared, but like, well worn. And they were muted colors, like natural dye colors. And I remember he had the deep creases in his face, and he just had like it wasn't scowling, but he just had like a mean look about him. Again, didn't look at me. He was looking where he was walking. And I was like, I saw it. I'm like, holy shit, I'm not seeing that. And I looked away and I looked again, and I'm, telling the lady driving, I mean, she's a pretty well-known researcher. Like if I said her name, everybody would know her. And the woman in the front seat, I was like, are you guys seeing that? Like, did you see that? Are you seeing this? And they're having a conversation. They're not listening to me. And I turned back and I'm like, I saw that, because we're driving. We're not driving fast. We're driving pretty slow because we're going through what's essentially a campground. And, we got back to camp a few minutes later, and I was, sleeping in the back of my SUV at the time. And my site was the first one you would come into if you're walking into camp. And I just remember crawling into the back of the SUV and thinking, dear God, please let me go to sleep right away. And please don't, let me have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, because I sure ain't getting out of this truck with that thing walking around out there. Thankfully, it was our last night there. And, I was just really afraid that I was going to either not be able to sleep and I'd hear something scratching on the window, or I'd, wake up and have to use the bathroom, and I'd look out and there'd be that ugly little face pressed against my window. I remember being very concerned about that because I did not want to see it again.
Yeah. Boy, I gotta tell you something. I'm gonna tell you this in a minute because little things like everybody knows I do not like clowns. I detest clowns, and there's one other, and like the what's the other thing I don't like? Well, there's a lot of things I don't like, but the gnomes I'm starting to get a little freaked out about, because I do have a cool story about these gnomes I'm going to share. But I wanted to ask you really quick though. You've heard this before, and I don't think I ever got your take on this, since we're talking about kind of the fae or maybe elementals. And I was wondering about, you heard my story about several years ago, probably maybe longer than that actually. A long time ago, because I didn't even have my Bigfoot encounter at this time. But I was at this place called Dead Man's Bridge, Dead Man's Curve, where this couple got killed in 1967, where they took this curve too hard and they were in a convertible and they flew out of the vehicle, and the girl got decapitated and the boy got killed. And there's been alleged hauntings of a decapitated ghost that patrols Dead Man's Curve. And I think I might have seen that. In fact, I did see that a long time ago when I was 18 years old. It was coming down a trail at me and my two friends. It was a ghost of a woman. You could tell it was a woman, just the way it sounded. You just had that gut feeling it was a woman without the head. But me and my friends would always go there. So about 5 years later, I go back to the same area, and there's this big meadow in this field. It was a hot summer day, and I told you this, but I wanted to know what your take is. This stick pops up. You've heard this probably.
A stick?
A stick pops up in the middle of this field, and I'm looking past this stick. I think nothing of this stick that popped up in the middle of the meadow or the field, because I'm looking at something else that caught my eye in the wood line on the other side of this meadow. And the stick is probably about 16 inches tall. Again, I pay no mind to it. then all of a sudden, whatever I was looking at in the distance, I lost sight of it. And so this stick now, it rose up another 8 inches to a foot taller. It pops out arms on the side and spindly legs. It reminded me of the Peanut Man, Planter's Peanut guy.
Yeah.
Those type of legs. And he had mechanical arms. He was cranking like this and his spindly little legs. And it's running toward the creek.
Oh my God.
A stick, it's running. And I'm like, to my buddy Brian, I go, check that thing out, man. What the hell is that?
Right.
And so me and my buddy Brian, we're chasing this thing down. And we're gaining ground on this. And we're like, what in the hell? What in the world? I'm not scared of it. I just thought, it was like a stick, right? That was running, which was weird, But it's running. I'm getting close to it. And then it goes down the embankment of the creek. And it kind of had this like weird, like stickish head. And you could make out a face, and it kind of turned. It kind of looked towards me with some weird grin. And it literally jumps into the creek. And the legs and the arms, they all disappear, or they go back in the body, and it turns into a regular stick. It blended in with each and every single stick, and it just kind of flowed. And I kind of ran down the creek trying to find it. So I'm trying to get it out of the creek, but it blended in with every other stick, and it kind of slowly got out of view and just kept on going. That was very weird.
That is crazy.
Now there are stick bugs.
Well, yeah,
on the ground that we've all seen, but they're an inch and a half, 2 inches long. But this thing was literally pops out of the ground about 16 inches. Then it sprouts these legs. It went up. It had been 30 inches tall, and it ran with arms. It literally ran, and it was using the gyrations of the arms and these long spindly legs. That's distinctly running. And I think it even kind of looked at me weird. It didn't really have a face or a human head. It was a stick figure.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the fae and the elementals, things like that, what in the hell you think that I came across was? I've looked that up online. I can't find nothing close to that.
I would classify that as, fae, personally.
Fae, I was thinking maybe.
Yeah, but I don't know what kind that would be. Its actions seem fae-ish. But I've never, and not that I know, not that I've heard of every fae around the world, but just I've never come across anything that would match that description.
Hi, Piglet. Piglet says, hi, everyone. It sounds like a Twiggy Witch from English folklore.
Well, let's look that up. I'm unfamiliar with Twiggy Witches.
That's pretty interesting. Thanks to everybody for coming on in.
Let's see. Twiggy Witches. Yeah, well, I am not seeing anything. Hold on.
And Duke says dryad wood spirit.
A dryad, I could see. Yeah, I could see that being a type of dryad. So the Hereford Twiggy Witch. I'm unfamiliar with these. No. I'm going to have to look further into that. I don't know, Rob, what that would be.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into that and let you know.
Yeah, I haven't found anything on it. And I've told that story several times. The girls, the blondes, I've told them and a few others. And they always like that story because it's so peculiar and odd, and you can't find it anywhere.
Yeah. But somebody's written about it somewhere. It's just digging.
It's about.
I don't want to sit here and dig through pages of Google while we're doing a show. So.
Yeah, I understand. No, that's fine. That's cool. It's right at your fingertips. But yeah, I don't like reading stuff when I do a show. But yeah, but I just can't find nothing worth mentioning, when I talk about it. But I tell you what, that was I've had peculiar things happen to me, with the paranormal, ghosts, the Bigfoot, I picked out a murderer, I knew this guy was to be a killer, and he was. So I've had all weird stuff happen in my life. But the twig, the stick figure.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's very, I'm not going to say it's my favorite. I mean, geez,
That's
I
pretty
can't.
cool, though. I mean, that's
But it's
so
cool as
unusual.
hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this place is not that far from my house, and I take walks and hikes through there all the time because it's allegedly haunted as well.
Well, I mean, if there's twig witches or stick fae running around,
Well, and I saw that headless ghost down there when I was 18 years old.
yeah,
Two
headless
kids died.
anything would be disturbing.
Yeah. So it's a very unique place. In fact, I kind of grew up around there because me and my friend would go down to this area all the time. Me and my friends, and we would, when we played hooky from school, that's where you would find us hanging out at this creek bend at the Dead Man's Bridge, Dead Man's Curve.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's where I brought all this weirdness home from. Hanging out there too much as a kid. I don't know.
We gotta clean you with some smoke.
Yeah. Well, I got this piece of wood. I don't know what the hell to do with this.
Oh, the Palo Santo?
Yeah.
Light it.
Light it?
The smoke like you would with sage smoke.
Oh, I got that. I think they look too cool. I got the sage over there. I got it as an ornament.
It'll smell good. Palo Santo smells really good.
Yeah, it does smell. It's like it's very silky smooth too.
Mm-hmm. I have some. Sage smells like weed to me. I never liked burning sage.
Yeah, I don't know. I want to burn that in the house.
Well, I mean, people would just think that you're being recreational.
Yeah, well, weed is no big. I mean, one of my best friend's kid does very well in the legal weed industry, although I tend to look the other way, the legal part of it. But so when we're talking about gnomes, I got to tell you this really weird story. And again, I live in a weird part of southern Michigan. My neighborhood is weird. I lived in my neighborhood growing up. When I got married, I moved 30 miles north. Then I got divorced. And, I came back when I got divorced and I bought my bar. I came back to where I grew up because I just love this town. It's a cool town, right? And I'm weird because I still have a lot of friends from high school. I went to college. We went to U of M, and I don't really talk to any of the college kids. But still, I keep in tabs with about 3 or 4 high school kids, which is weird. And I know a lot of people, once you graduate high school, those friends, you move on, right? I moved on.
The town.
The town. And by the way, who went to my high school?
Who?
George Neri. I was
really?
was on Coast to Coast AM 3 weeks ago. I'm waiting for George Neri to call me. I'm on at 3 a.m. in the morning. It's 2:59 a.m. Never spoke to this guy in my life. I've never been on the show. Did not know what to expect. And it's a landline of all things. And my landline, I had to dust it off. I don't use a landline.
I'm impressed you even have a landline.
I had to call the cable company to get my landline phone number to give the producers at Coast to Coast. I said, we can't do this on the internet? Oh, no. We want a good connection. I said, well, I got top of the line stuff. I always have good connections as long as I don't have a power outage.
Right.
So, waiting for him to call me. I got this stupid landline in my hand. I'm like this. It rings. Is Rob there? Yeah, this is Rob. Is this George? Yeah, George Neri. Coast to Coast AM. I'm like, hey, George, what's up? Briefly, where in Michigan are you from? I mean, boom, I go,
okay, right into it.
I'm in southern, this is before the show, of course, which starts in like now 37 seconds. I'm in, southern Michigan, southeast Michigan. What city? I go, Dearborn Heights. He goes, Annapolis High School. Did you go there? I go, in fact, I did. I graduated from Annapolis. No kidding, so did I. Are you familiar with the Pelham Van Born corridor? I go, I sure am. Did you travel the A-way by the high school? Sure did. Is that Kmart still standing there? No, it's not. What about the meat market? You remember Sam's grocery store, where as kids we could get free booze? Yes, I remember. It's still there. Holy cow. He lived 3 miles from me and never met the man once, but he's got about a decade older than me. So
Well,
that show was probably he told me it's one of the best shows he ever did. And he don't tell people that. He personally called me the next day and told me that.
oh,
He
that's nice.
loved it. He loved it. So yeah, so we hit it off really well. It went well. And he promoted the butt out of my books and my channel like no other. I never heard him. So that was cool. That was very cool. So yeah. George and Harry lived 3 miles from me.
That's pretty cool. That is cool.
Yeah, that was neat. I was like, wow, small world, eh? Small
Right?
world.
Exactly.
You know? So yeah, so that was cool. So I was all excited, and I liked that show because I took audience questions the last hour, which was quite a trip, to be honest with you. But yeah, but there were some weird people too that were asking me this weird stuff, not even related to the show, and I'm like, okay. And George is like, okay, on to the next caller. But anyway,
At least he
yeah, he did his job.
yeah.
He knows what he's doing. But
Mhm.
so anyway, sorry about that, everybody. We always go on, different. We go all over on the shows.
Go on side quests.
But we're talking these gnomes, right? And I got this friend, and the reason I kind of talked about I have a lot of still my high school friends that I may move back to the old neighborhood was because I love it here, right? So my bar was I could literally walk to my bar from here, which was always good. Oh, trust me. But anyway, so my friend, I haven't seen this guy though in a long time. I met him. I saw him at the gas station or something. Hey, Rob, what's up? What you been doing? So we started talking, and I told him I have a podcast on YouTube, blah, blah, blah. He goes, oh, yeah, what's the name of it? I go, well, Bigfoot Mission, Rob. Oh, you do Bigfoot and stuff like that? I go, yeah, paranormal. Then he goes, paranormal stuff too? I go, yeah, I do it all. Hey, man, I got to take you over to my house. I go, where do you live? He goes, 10 minutes from here. I say, I got time to kill. Sure, I'll come see you. Or come with you to your house. So I follow him over to his house, and I know exactly where we're going. The guy lives in back of a cemetery. His backyard, it goes right to the cemetery. Okay, so creepy enough as that is, right in front of the cemetery, then his backyard, you got his backyard, the cemetery is like you would call it the tree line, but it's a cemetery lot line.
Mm-hmm.
Right in front of that, because he asked me if I like gardening. I said, I love gardening. I always make a garden. Shows me his garden.
Right.
And he goes, I really didn't bring you here to show me my garden. What I wanted to show you is off to the left of my garden that backs up to the cemetery. And I said, wow, that is so cool. So he had all these gnomes. He had an allotment of gnomes, figurines, made of different types of material.
I don't like them. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that in my yard. I don't care to have a gnome in my garden. I don't. But it did look cool for him. And I took a picture of it, whatever. He had maybe a dozen, okay? And they were anywhere from 6 inches to 12 inches. It was kind of gaudy, to be honest with you. Some were creepy looking, and some were just gnome, dumb looking. Some reminded me of Santa Claus, right? So I go, yeah, so you didn't bring me all the way here because that's kind of weird, dude.
Right.
Let's be frank, right? I didn't come here. If you want, I remember you from high school, but boy, you're out there. He starts laughing. No, man. He goes, these gnomes, you see how they're all set up? I go, yeah. He goes, every couple months, starting right around March, when I go into the back, the gnomes are in different positions in the gnome garden. He goes, for example, see that one on the end there? I found him on the other end. They're all out of position. They're always screwed up. And I says, does this cemetery lead up to any kids? Do you have any kids that run through the cemetery? Because there was no fence there either. Mm-hmm. It was just kind of wide rambling. I go, maybe kids are coming through here. And maybe the kids are just messing with you. And they're at nighttime, kids do. I know I would probably think about it and
Right.
mess with you and move them around. Yeah, I was thinking that. He goes, in fact, I've stayed up at night trying to bust the kids doing it, but every time I stayed up late at night, nothing ever happens. I'm like, well, that's pretty odd, man. He goes, yeah, so, you're into the paranormal and stuff. You have any ideas? I said, yeah, I said, I tell you what, I'll be honest with you. I've heard of people telling me stories that gnomes actually have known to come into life and move around.
Sure.
You talk about, I'm like, I've heard those stories, man. I said, I don't know. I'm not saying yours are, not to freak you out. But to me, if you were to tell me that, I wouldn't call you full of shit. Oh, good. Thank you. Because he goes, now I got to tell you something else. He goes, right around the end of June, on his back porch, not his back porch, his back patio off of his breezeway that leads to his backyard, he said he found all these small little footprints, and were 1 inch or 2 inches, and they were feet. Some were toes, some had toes, and some were like little boots.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes out, he went and inspected his gnome yard, and that particular night, the gnome yard was once again all messed up. Every gnome was in a different spot. And he started grabbing these gnomes, picking them up, and bringing them to his back patio, because some of them were freestanding. They weren't on a base. A lot of them had the legs and the feet
Right.
standing. And son of a gun, if he did not tell me that he matched up some of the footprints from his statues to some of the footprints that were on his back deck.
No, they'd be relocated. Those would be gifted elsewhere.
You would regift. You get rid of them.
I would put them in the middle of the woods and walk away. Be free.
Well, now here's where it gets weird. If this is not even weirder, it's like, man, I guess they're coming to life for you. These are magical gnomes, brother. I'm afraid of that. So the movement of the gnomes, the footprints kind of go away for a little while, right?
Okay.
And he says, you see that gnome there with that like red long, almost like Santa coat? It didn't have the white, but it was just like red and like a black belt. And again, it's a statue,
Sure.
He tells me a couple weeks ago, as I'm talking to him, what happened like a couple weeks prior, right? I go out, I get up in the morning to have my coffee, sit out back, and I'm always intrigued to see how my gnome garden is always discombobulated. I don't even get to the garden, he says. I see some more footprints from the gnomes, and he looks down, and not ceramic, not made of stone, is the jacket, the red jacket for one of his gnomes. Material, cloth.
Interesting.
So, he says he about craps his pants because he knows where that jacket is. He knows what gnome it goes on. He immediately races to his garden to that gnome that wears this red jacket.
Right.
He found the gnome and it was covered in squirrel fur.
Oh,
squirrel coat. He goes, how do you explain that, dude? And I go, what? Jojo goes, oh, what? Now she's talking to me or not? Oh, what? I go, I did the same thing. I said, what? That is weird stuff.
Right.
Now, everybody, I don't think this guy's pulling my leg. I went to high school with him, haven't seen him in decades, ran into him at the gas station. We're just talking. Tell him, and I got to tell you something. I believe what this guy was telling me. Because when I looked at his face, he went full crap. He went, you can tell sometimes if someone's trying to pull your leg. This guy, when he spoke, his wife even came out because I know his wife from high school. They were high school sweethearts. oh my God, Rob, man, we're not pulling your leg. This has been happening to us. What should we do? Do you think anything the cemetery has to do with it? They're asking me. I said, I don't know, man. I don't know if
No.
there's any correlation. I'm thinking that's right.
Yeah, I mean, what's okay? So
Jojo says the squirrel will be seen next wearing the red coat. Well,
right,
yeah, the red coat was on his back. That's funny
Tracy,
though. Yeah,
I'll take your skin. Here's my coat.
yeah. So that's creepy. I mean, that really. I mean, I've heard
That
some
is
stuff.
very creepy. You know that they're just the thought of that is, I don't like it.
Just like dolls. There's Piglet. I don't like clowns or dolls. And now I don't think I like gnomes.
Yeah, I don't like gnomes. I mean, everybody has a different idea of a gnome when they hear the name, right? So a lot of people think of like the roaming gnome, right? The little dude with the pointy hat.
Yeah.
That's what I think of when I think of gnomes. And those are more in line with the Scandinavian ones. And then you've got like the English ones that are like, similar in appearance, but maybe a little more wizened face, not quite as, round and jovial. And I don't know. I just their characteristics, I mean, they're not all nice. They're not all nice. Like they can be helpful or they can be a real problem. They're scary, really, at the end of the day, like most fae are. If you really stop and think about what they're capable of, it's all scary. And my husband collects these figurines and they're gnomes, and they're like, I don't know, carved out of wood or something. They're just freaking creepy looking, and everybody thinks they're cute, and I think they're horrible. And I don't even want them in my house, but I mean, he's got like 4 or 5 of them. I mean, I guess collect is like a loose term, but I don't even want one in my house. But yeah, he's got them up on the piano. Ugh.
Little gnomes on the piano.
I don't like them. I mean, the figurines, I don't want anything, any kind of effigy. I don't want any of it in my house.
Well, I don't collect any of that anymore either, simply because of the story that you already know about with my experience with the things that I collected over the years when I was married.
Yeah.
That brought shadow people into my house. See, I don't, I don't do that thing no more. I don't buy nothing. I just don't do it.
Gotta be careful.
I have started to collect though what I can, but I buy them new.
Yeah.
I don't go to the thrift shop.
That's not even like always guaranteed, if it's made on a production line or if you've got something that's handcrafted in some village in Tibet. I mean, what kind of energy is put into it when people are making it.
No, you don't. So I just start collecting lighthouses. So
Okay.
I dig lighthouses. But of course, I collect the lighthouses that I know have mystery and paranormal behind them. Otherwise, why buy them?
I'm trying to say, well, right. You got to have the creepy stuff, Rob. Somebody wants to know what my husband's gnome collection looks like. I think there's a picture of it in the book here. It's similar. But, yeah, they are creepy. They're creepy. I don't trust any of them.
Even before I knew anything about I always knew about the paranormal. I should rephrase that. I would say I even never liked gnomes when they first hit the market, whatever it was, many years ago. I just thought they were odd, dumb-looking things, really.
Right?
And they always would come out, and what I really don't like are the Santa Claus gnomes. Because I do love Christmas, and that, to me, is just...
Those are Nisse.
Just nuts.
Yeah, they're okay. So the gnomes in Scandinavian folklore, they're usually like more associated with like farms, and they're helpful around the farms. But man, let me tell you, you better take care of them. You better respect them, because there's this one story that I read that this farmer I can't remember, it was in Finland or Sweden, but you're supposed to bring an offering to them. You're supposed to give them offerings. And he was a little late on his payment because they help around the farm. They help with the chores. They keep things running smooth. They keep like pests away, right? They help take care of the land, but they expect an offering in return. Well, this farmer forgot to put the offering out. Just forgot. Wasn't, trying to be menacing. He just forgot. And he came out the next day and every single animal in the barn had been killed.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And yeah, he learned his lesson. They can go on the rampage, and there's, so you get like wood elves, which really isn't a gnome, but it is another kind of fairy. So you get like elves around the house or gnomes around the house that are helpful in the house, right? And there's an agreement that, they'll help you around the house. They'll make sure that things run smoothly and there's no negative energy and, yada, 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 right? They're helping around the house. But in exchange, because there's always an exchange with the Fae, you've got to pay a price for anything they're doing for you. And the agreement is typically they get to eat one member in the house for every year of service, right? And
really?
Yeah. But the way around it is, this is some book I read a long time, folklore book I read a long time ago. The way around it is, if they damage anything in the house or if something is broken in the house, you can say, well, I don't have to pay you because, this glass broke or these plates broke or, this damage happened and that damage happened. So you weren't fulfilling your end of the contract. So you don't get payment. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't want a Fae in my house no matter what. But I would make any kind of agreement with them. So they're kind of like, they look, this is upside down, but they look kind of like that Joker there in the middle. The things my husband collects.
Okay.
They're creepy as hell. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And that's how it's not even brought out for Halloween. It's just all year round in your house on the piano. Did you say it's on the piano?
It's on the piano because I've got it came with the house. I mean,
yeah.
Piano's from, I don't know, from like 18. We looked it up because it's got the maker's mark on the inside.
Oh.
It's from like 1880 or so. It's an old piano and nobody, I think, has been here since the house was built. Nobody wanted to move that thing. And it's, yeah, he's got them like up on the top of the piano. Yeah.
Yeah. So who dusts it?
Who dusts the piano?
Well, the little gnomes.
Tell you who doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his mother gave him some more like last Christmas. And I was like, quit with those creepy freaking things.
I will bet you it's like an annual thing.
He doesn't get them every year because they don't make that. It's like it's made by this one artist and she does estate sales, in her spare time with her friends. They like put them on. So if she comes across these figurines in her estate sale, she'll buy them for him. So it's just sporadic whenever she finds them.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand the little bastard. Well, I shouldn't say that. They can probably hear me. I don't want to piss him off.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of my one of my aunts, still alive, by the way, and we do, except for my dad, we have longevity on my dad's side. Everybody lived like till like 90 and 100, it seems. Except my dad died at, of course, 72. But anyway,
that's pretty young.
Yeah, pretty young. Yeah, pretty young. So my one aunt on his side, when I was married, every Christmas Eve, she would give me and my wife at the time plates, dinner plates and they're very ugly. Something that I would never eat dinner on or serve if I had a party or anything. Dinner plates, and then it moved up to the saucer and coffee mug type thing, right? Because she was telling my wife at the time, ex-wife, well, you can save these all up, and one day when you guys have Christmas Eve, you can use these plates. I'm like, fabulous. So we'd make jokes about it every Christmas. I wonder what type of ugly plate Becky's gonna give us this Christmas. So it was a running joke with even my dad, my mom, my brother. We would joke. And my brother and his wife, they would get the same sort of odd, dumb stuff. So after about 5 years, I took these plates and I went and sold them. I sold them. I sold them at a thrift shop. Got whatever I got for them. I didn't care. They're just taking up room, Monica. Room.
Right.
You know?
I've got stuff like that.
Oddly, as I say that, it just so happened because Christmas Eve was always done by my mom and dad, which now is done by my brother and sister-in-law. But oddly enough, during this time in my life, my mom and dad couldn't have a house remodeled. And at the time, my brother and sister's house wasn't big enough, so I had to do Christmas Eve, which I never planned on ever doing it. The auntie comes over and sees that we're not using her dinnerware that she'd been giving us all those years because we pulled out some Christmas dinnerware.
Right.
And asked us where the plates and stuff were. How come? I told you when you guys do Christmas Eve to use this. Wife kicks me in the shins underneath the table. How are you going to get out of this one? I said, well, they weren't very Christmassy. They're over there and, put away. Oh, okay. She's disappointed.
Aww.
An hour. Yeah, I feel bad for her. This time she's probably in her 80s. So an hour later goes by. She goes, well, can I see my plates? I'd like to see what I bought you. And I got rid of them, I sold them.
Oh, shit.
And so I go, yeah, come on. I just immediately I'll show you. I got them stored right over here. So I open up the curio cabinet. I go, wait, honey, Rachel, where'd you put the plates? And I kind of shoved her off on her and kind of on that one. And I don't know what she told her. But yeah, that was funny. Thought I'd bring that up.
Chasing imaginary plates around the house. I must have put them over here. Oh, no,
well, my buddy, the gnomes from my buddy at the cemetery stole them and used them to dine off of.
They used them for skeet shooting.
There you go.
There's probably still some bits in the cemetery if you'd like to see that.
Yeah. But I got to tell you, you don't think there's any with that last story? There's no correlation with the cemetery and the gnomes? Maybe spirits breathing, maybe weird spirits.
I mean, I would say yes, the spirits could have been moving them around, but the spirits didn't materialize this gnome's coat and then replace it with squirrel fur.
Yeah.
So that made me be like, wow, little turds are coming to life at night.
Yeah. I got to tell you, I think that they probably we got something going on over there. And I'm like you, man. I would have got rid of those.
Daddy, you have some really dedicated prankster kids.
Great prankster kids.
Yeah, I mean, they're fashioning squirrel coats in gnome size, and they're fashioning red coats to make it look like the gnome's coat, was real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like that story I did with you the other day on the Black-Eyed Kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they came dressed in clown outfits, remember? I'm sure.
I remember that. Yeah. I still think that was neighborhood kids jacking with them and they were wearing the clown things. Just
the thing that was odd, though, that they called them on their cell phone.
Yeah, but I mean, if their parents know this couple, it's not hard to get the phone number from the parents' phone, to sneak that.
Really briefly, Duke says too many gnome statues attracted real gnomes. You know what? I heard something similar where the more you put out, the more that you conjure up or attract.
It's the energy, yeah.
Because I will tell you this, people, even if I didn't hear this story from this guy, that what he told me, I have heard by more than several people, including a guest that's going to be on my show for Halloween, Varla Ventura. She believes the gnomes come to life, certain ones, or maybe not the statue coming to life, but there are gnomes that start running around in life
Yeah,
form,
there's gnomes. Yeah,
in life form, not
yeah,
a statue
like real.
metamorphosizing, real ones.
Yeah, I believe that.
I think so too. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen a lot of things, and hey, if I can
I
see
saw a little dude looked like a friggin' gnome.
you know, right? Yeah. Well, I mean, you, boom, first-hand experience. I was telling this guy, man, you got to set up some cameras, turn them on at night, you know.
Yeah, put on some game cameras, and I promise you, you're either going to catch something super weird, you're going to catch something not weird, like kids, or it's just going to stop altogether.
Yeah, and like some people have those annoying, I guess they're not annoying, it just depends on your point of view. Those lights, sensor lights, when you walk past them at night, they go off.
Yes.
I've got them now where they're blinding my house. They're out on the perimeter.
They blind the neighbors and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't have, my neighbors are far away, so which is
That's
cool.
good.
Like I told you, that one guy that came knocking at my side door, and there's no way that he was gone in like 2 seconds because I would see you running down the street or across the field.
Right.
I've experienced a lot of weird stuff. That's what my third book is going to be, by the way. All my weird life experiences.
See, I thought about writing a book about that because I've had so many weird things. Like I've seen some weird things.
You know,
seen and experienced.
And it'd be very easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
when you're writing about your own experiences, right?
Yeah, it'd be just about formatting it, deciding, you know, little things like that. But that won't be for a little while because I need a break from doing that because I did the other two back to back, you know, back to back like that, which was.
How long did it take you to put together the two books that you have released?
Both were about a year.
Okay.
A year. Yeah, the one was long. Well, the first one was longer than a year because it took me a couple of years just to get all the stories first.
Sure. And
then the second one was easier because I already had stories. In fact, I could have made book one a double, mm-hmm. But I decided to break it into two, which actually I'm glad I did. And that didn't take nearly as long. In fact, I could have got it out earlier, mm-hmm. but I knew that it was almost done, and so I started slacking with the editing because that's what takes the time out. Rereading it and reading it and reading it again.
Did you send it out to have your friends?
I didn't. I did it myself. I did it. Well, mm-hmm. Jason McLean did some light editing because I sent him the copy and he did some. I'd rather pay someone next time because even though I've read both books and it's like I see crap. Oh, I misspelled this word. I made this supposed to be capital and it's small. You know, things that annoy me. You know, that would annoy me reading another book. When I read it my own, I'm like, God dang it, Rob, I'll just bite the bullet. The next one's going to be long, so I'll have somebody read it. Because we don't see our own mistakes. Other people do. I found that out.
Yep. And you get tired of reading it.
Oh, my God.
I'm sure.
That's why a lot of these stories I can tell so quickly because I've read them like 20 times. And there's some that I haven't even read once. I just skimmed through a lot of the books, and when I edited the books, I skimmed through everything. I didn't sit there and read it word by word.
Oh,
which
yeah,
which you're technically supposed to.
I'm so particular when I'm just in an email. When I'm editing an email, I literally go every word and punctuation.
I would have the first
comma doesn't go there.
I wouldn't have the first book out if I did that.
I understand.
But I get you because I'm kind of anal about that. It's just like, gosh. And no, I don't have an audiobook, freaky.
You should.
I might probably do that next, I guess, to be kind of easy.
That's a whole nother market, man, because I mean, almost exclusively buy audiobooks anymore just because of my commute.
Yes, the audiobooks on a long commute, or if you're like driving, if I were to drive, 6 hours somewhere, audiobooks way to go. Or a
I mean, I
podcast.
drive over an hour every day one way to work, so
So you can get a couple chapters knocked out.
yeah, I need to be entertained. When I'm not taking calls from work.
Yeah.
Mm.
I've been listening to audiobooks. Though at night.
Mm-hmm.
But just kind of see with me the problem is this. I'll listen to an audiobook and I don't go to bed till kind of late anyway and get up early.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll have it on my phone. I won't play it on the TV because the TV's too big and it's just too bright. So it's on the phone.
Right.
I'm asleep within like 20 minutes though, and the entire 5 hours of sleeping is playing. I wake up and the book's still playing.
Do you have Audible?
No.
Is it Kindle?
No, what I do when I listen to an audiobook, believe it or not, I found a free one on YouTube that I plug in.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, if you have Audible, you can put a timer on it.
Oh, okay.
So if you're, likely to fall asleep within 10 minutes, it'll stop playing in 10 minutes.
Okay.
So, because I do that too, I'll start listening to something and I'll fall asleep listening to it. And I'm like 10 chapters in, or half the books or the whole book's gone,
Yeah, because every book I'll fall asleep. And the only reason I want to do an audio book is because I had a copy of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've started reading that book throughout my entire life, maybe 5 times. And I can't get through it because I frankly find it kind of boring before you get to the good parts. So I tried it on the audiobook. I said, well, you know what? Instead of reading this, I'm going to try an audiobook style. Same thing. Fall right asleep. So
right.
I'm giving up on good old Bram.
It's a tough read. I will say. Like, there are some books that I've read that if I wasn't hostage in my car on a commute, I would have thrown to the side of my bedroom, been yeah, or fallen asleep reading it and not bothered picking it back up. Some books are like that.
Yeah, they're like that. Like I told you, the book I've never gotten through simply because it freaks me out.
Right. It just it took me. I still haven't read The Stand all the way through because it freaks me out. Because it's plausible.
Boss Monster listens to Bigfoot Mission around when driving to work. He says he's such a kiss ass. Thank you, Boss Monster. This is Grandizer. And Grandizer says I have a squeaky voice that tone goes up and down. Well, thanks for that, I guess. Actually, I do work on my voice all the time. And it's a tough thing to master, keeping the tone the same and this, that, and the other.
I do this a lot when I'm trying to make
I used to do this a lot, then I find out the mic goes in and out until I bought a better mic where it don't matter now. I can go like this. But I got to tell you guys, doing podcasts is not just sitting in the back of a mic. I practice, I rewatch the shows to get better, try to improve on the voice. It's just an arduous task, isn't it, Monica?
You're such a professional. I drop my podcast and then I kick some grass over that shit and move on.
But you do. But that's you, though. But that's you when it comes.
But you're professional. You go back and try to better yourself. I'm just
well, I do. But hey, that's just me. But you are professional in your real job, and that's really all that matters.
Well, I have to be. Yes, I am.
Yes, you are.
Even when I don't want to be.
Yes. Yes. You've told me about the days where you dress very business-like and business lady-like, and other days where you just kind of
look like
look like a hole.
Hag. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, well, this has been a fun show. I seems like everybody liked it. I liked it. Talk a little Mexican food, talk a little Mexican monsters, some folklore.
Mm.
We're gonna gear up some shows because, as you know, before you know it, one of my favorite holidays is fast approaching here in about 10 days, 8 days, 9 days. Because October for me is Halloween, not just the 31st or the 30th. It's all month long. I've already got all my shows booked in October with scary guests.
Really?
Halloween. Yeah, I got
awesome.
most of that's knocked out of the ballpark. I got a couple more things that I need to work on for that.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that's cool. It's always cool when you have guests booked well in advance.
Right.
Except for when they forget. I bet they don't show up.
Those reminders, because you don't have a producer to like wrangle everybody for you.
No,
you are your own producer.
I'm my own. Well, we're all our own producers and find our own guests.
We're not that big yet. Well, you are.
I'm not big at all. Big to me is like,
million subscribers.
I just seen some dude with 1 million subscribers. Can you believe it? Now that to me is like, that's phenomenal. 1 million. Of course, it was some guy from Korea.
It's probably unwrapping toys or some crap like that.
Yeah, this guy made a flying saucer that he used it on the lake. So it was like a motorcraft on the lake. I bet it was like a Sea-Doo, those Sea-Doos where you just, they're like a motorcycle basically.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's what that was. And he devised a spacecraft. It went around it.
Okay.
And he was tooling around on the.
That's pretty cool. That's inventive.
That was pretty cool. And I got to tell you what, you and I aren't 5 and 6 years old anymore. Those little kid videos, which I don't watch, but I happen to see, they're getting millions of subscribers.
I know. My son used to watch those, like some 5-year-old literally unwrapping a toy or like opening a box from Amazon that's got toys in it. And he's like, oh, look, it's a Blue Thomas tank and it's got this and we're going here and blah, blah, blah. The little shit's got like 3 million subscribers.
Yeah. And the parents are making the loot. Yeah.
That's why I cry on the way to work sometimes. Going to work to be verbally abused by people who don't know what the hell they're talking about. And there's a 5-year-old making millions of dollars with 3 million subscribers for unwrapping presents and opening an Amazon box.
You can only fall into our lap like that, Monica. I made probably 10 cents today on this show.
Well, it's more than I made.
I'll send you a nickel.
I'll get
you a nice birthday present if I make it down to New Orleans.
I hope you do. It'll be fun.
Well, if the playoffs are going, that'd be a tough one. But
that's true. I remember. I forgot.
We can plan. Well, we'll see. That's
sports
a long
bars.
list.
There's sports bars.
I can't. I gotta do it at my house if they're in the playoffs. If they're not in the playoffs, no, I'm coming down for sure. Okay. For sure. That for sure.
Okay.
So with that being said, thanks to everybody for coming in. It was a great show. I'm kind of tired, ready to roll. Monica, man, you've been pounding it all day long.
Yeah, I'm really tired. really tired.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. Krista, if you're all wondering where Krista and Brandy were, Krista was at a wedding, and Brandy was doing something with her daughter, which unexpectedly took her into the wee hours of the morning. The life of parents. Of course. So,
it's a pip.
Yeah, there you go. So with that being said, I'm just looking for my little extra. I got my Lions tomorrow at 10, so I get to sleep in a little bit tomorrow. Nice. Yeah, they're on at 4 o'clock instead of 1, so that's cool.
Awesome.
Although the Lions are on 8 primetime games this year, all like Thursdays, Sunday night football, Monday night football, Thursday night football. So yeah, because they're finally good.
Sports ball.
Oh God, Jason. What a weirdo. You know, that's so gay. Sports ball. With that being said, thanks, Monica. Thanks to everybody for coming on in.
Thanks.
Good night.
Night.